China is different. China probably, and they've said this very openly, that they're going to be protecting the consumers. The people will not lose their homes. The people will be delivered what they were promised. What's going to get hit would be big business. The bondholders, the people who are holding equity in Evergrande. And I'll tell you, I won't be surprised. You'll wake up one morning seeing that the major stockholder of Evergrande will now be the Chinese government.
That being said, let's transition to the US markets. I remember last year you were so excited about Tesla, which also it pumped early this year. But we're now October 2021. What's your approach with what's going on, especially right now? No, there's so many news articles. A crash is coming, Evergrande, etc. First of all, general outlook, US markets. What's your strategy and approach right now?
Now, it's much, again, an opposite of what we talked about 10 months ago. Because 10 months ago, the charge is, diversification. You're going to see the Philippines, obviously, we're going to struggle. We're not managing the pandemic really well. So you have to go for technology. You have to go for who's going to thrive in a COVID pandemic situation. And guess what? The Philippines, you only have a few choices. Only a few choices. But when you go to international markets like the US, you will have the... I remember telling you, Marvin, about the vaccination, vaccine company producing, vaccine producing companies like Moderna. We were talking about Moderna at what? $60, $30. It went over $400 plus. It's now $320 plus, right? Alam naman natin lahat, we're in a COVID pandemic. Who's going to thrive? Anyone who can be successful in coming up with a vaccine. And you would know who the front runners are. So all you need to do is to bet on a few of them and see how it unfolds. But you see, we're on that tail end now of that game. Plus the technology, we put a lot of money in companies like Alphabet, Facebook. You're looking at Amazon and all that stuff. But now, again, that's the toppish side, right? So, and Marvin, I'm not going to be sheepish about this, no? I am now lowering my international exposure. I'm now putting more money locally. Because if you see the local market, who's leading the charge? It's just local retail. Local retail, that's why it doesn't really pop up, right? Now, when you see the foreign investors looking at the US probably getting toppish, looking at some other markets getting to be heavy, where will they go? They're going to go back to emerging markets. They're going to go back to where the money can earn a little higher for them. When they go to the Philippines, guess where this market is going to be? Look at your charts in 2008, 2009, 2010, 2011. I see that probably happening to the Philippines. A matter of time. A matter of time, we'll see that. So somehow, I'd now, being a step ahead is very important. So I might be wrong, but I'm here for the long haul anyway. Eventually, I will be right.
I wanna dig into your frame of thought when you mentioned a couple of US stocks earlier, and because I really had to change my mindset looking at US stocks, because the way we look at Philippine companies is, okay, dapat yung net income nila nag-i-increase dapat yan per year, valuations dapat reasonably priced. But when you go to US tech stocks naman, that's thrown out of the window. Sometimes they're not even earning money, or their valuations are too expensive. This is for people who want to somehow enter US markets even as a template for the next few years. How do you gauge that, and how do you enter that? Even Moderna nung last year, their earnings weren't really as good also. So when you analyze it with normal fundamental analysis, parang hindi to pasok. It doesn't check the normal parameters of traditional investing. So what's your tips for people regarding that?
I guess I picked up a lot from Cathy Wood of ARK Invest. I mean, Cathy Wood is a very different investor, diba? I mean, you and I would have probably grown with the Warren Buffetts of the world, the Benjamin Grahams of the world, no? So when we see a player like Cathie Wood, it's very different. She's looking at the disruption. There's this new wave of investors right now. We're not exactly looking at the financial or the bottom line. It is how these companies will change the world. That's the way they're viewing things, and which means you're not supposed to look at the bottom line today because that bottom line is not being delivered yet. I mentioned Moderna. If you look at Moderna, it's just the vaccine for the COVID-19 that you're looking at. But they're developing other medicines for cancer, for diabetes. They're into that game. So they're going to be solving a lot of these medical issues moving forward. Tesla, for example, I think the mistake is for a lot of people to see Tesla as a car company, right? So what is it about Tesla that goes beyond cars? Like people are saying, oh, it's not gonna go up anymore because it's even more valuable than Toyota, than Nissan, than all of these other car companies put together. You're missing the story. It's not a car manufacturer only. It's going to revolutionize power. It's going to be revolutionizing the use of batteries. It's going to be revolutionizing transport with the driverless, protocols that they have. I have already seen a video, Marvin. Somebody came out of the supermarket and actually ordered the Tesla to pick him up because it's raining, and the car was able to do it. Can you imagine? When it gets to get developed, your future Grab and your future Uber will be a Tesla with no driver. The repercussions of technology will be very different, and that's the reason why, the applications for the future is what's being valued today. And that's why people are going to say, oh, it's overvalued. You're looking at the PE ratio. The PE ratio is something that's thrown off the window when you're dealing with these disruption companies because PE is not relevant. Tesla's PE is what, over 1,000? Maybe over 900, right? We're expecting what, 15 to 18, probably 21? It's because of its future. Magkaiba eh. Many people lose that eh. Like, for example, think about Amazon. So people think, oh, it's an online platform, it's a delivery, it's logistics and all that. No, that's not Amazon anymore. I've just been to Seattle before the pandemic. Been to Seattle. You come in, you register your phone, you get into the supermarket, get what you want and just go out. No checkout, no nothing. You're gonna get billed into your account and you don't waste time. So is that online? No, it's face-to-face. It's physically shopping, but it gives you the power of online platforms. So that's now beyond the business model of Amazon, right? But they only have a few stores right now. Can you just imagine if the whole of the United States will have all of those stores? Will you go to a regular supermarket?
Got it. And going back to Tesla, what's so interesting about that is a lot of the car manufacturers right now, their sales are down, their deliveries are down. Pero Tesla, they've all produced more than what the other car manufacturers did. So I think it's really based on future growth as well.
And Marvin, you line up, You don't order a Tesla and get it now. You will line up for it. There is a waiting list.
Yep. And that goes to show how strong the demand is also, and how much interest there is for a particular company or a particular product. So I want to ask this so that people also have a template for this. How will you categorize it? So you have your Teslas, then you have your which is, maybe you could categorize it as AI. Driverless cars, which is also connected to AI. Then you have your fintech, which is Square, PayPal. Then you have maybe renewable energy. How would you, for people who want to look at insights for the future, what category should they possibly look at?
Well, again, for me, it's all of that disruptive technology. It's how this whole company will change our lives. Now, think about I think it's better to appreciate it moving backwards. Moving backwards, look at Apple. Okay? Apple is the Tesla today. Apple maybe 10, 15 years ago, right? What did Apple do to us? Apple changed our lives. Apple changed the phone. Apple changed a lot of things. I mean, many of us are dependent on those gadgets for the way we live our life today. So Tesla is into that 15 years ago today. So you will have to see this as it has unfolded. So now, Apple is already that huge enterprise. You cannot put it in the category of Tesla because it's already doing what it has promised it. It doesn't mean that Apple doesn't have the disruptive technology. It still has. It's just that their base of business is already so big, the future add-on will not be as big as what Tesla has or what, like for example, CRISPR. All of these, even Lemonade for insurance, di ba? Yung mga ganon, di ba? If you're going to be looking at that, companies have already unraveled their value, and there are companies that would still be, let's just say, showing off that value. It's not yet realized. So as an investor, you have to probably use different metrics. The fundamentals, the measures are going to be very, very different.
As an investor, being invested for a very, very long time, and you've seen different crashes also both locally and globally, Evergrande, there are people projecting that it can be 2008 all over again. What's your thoughts on that? Should people be scared about it, or is this something that will just fly off later on also?
I think it's a concern. Let's just say, anything huge that is mismanaged will always be a concern. So it has created ripples, it has scared a lot of investors, and you will see asset valuations really getting trimmed because of this. And then people want to see, how it will unfold before they take on further commitments, especially for China and Asian businesses in general. However, Marvin, I shared this with you earlier in our chat before this recording, right? Iba yung China eh. I see it to be very, very different. It's unlike, the US where, most of the people who suffered would be the retail people. The buyers of homes, they're the real customers, they're the consumers. What the capitalist nature of the US really prioritized would be the big companies. Too big to fail, right? So they saved a lot of these, AIGs of the world and, made sure that the haircut is gonna be experienced by the small guys. China is different. China probably, and they've said this very openly, that they're going to be protecting the consumers. The people will not lose their homes. The people will be delivered what they were promised. What's gonna get hit would be big business. The bondholders, the people who are holding equity in Evergrande. And I'll tell you, I won't be surprised. You'll wake up one morning seeing that the major stockholder of Evergrande will now be the Chinese government. Right? Because it's really gonna be cheap. They're gonna clean it up. This is my opinion. They're gonna clean it up, let the investors take that haircut, and they can come in at a fairly good value. And because they have saved the consumers, the company has a fairly good chance of surviving. So eventually, that entire market will be very different. It's not like 2008 because in 2008, kasi again, Marvin, for me, it's really different if you're communist. No one can run after. Remember AIG, there were a lot of court cases. There were, people can hold you back. Who's gonna contest what the Chinese government will do? That's why for them, the solutions, even if they're the most unpopular, can happen. Why? Because they're not gonna run for elections. You see, the reason why in the democratic world at times, we get to fudge many of the decisions, especially on the business side. Because our politicians want to remain popular. They want to win the next election. In China, they're not gonna go for any election, so they're just gonna do it no matter who gets hurt. Eventually, those who get hurt hate them and they can't do anything about it, right? Now, in the end, Chinese government will say, okay, I'll own you. And when they now own you, guess what happens? So, as an investor though, you just have to be on the right place. As I say this because I think I own shares in Alibaba. Okay? And, I was like positioning for that IPO. And quite frankly, with a lot of pride, I can tell you, I have an allocation for that. How many Filipinos had allocations? Very, very few. I had an allocation, and I have a lot of friends asking me if I can, get allocations for them. Guess what happened? Di ba? Didn't push through. And even Alibaba itself, from a high of 300 plus, is now down to 140, 150. So if you weren't able to move fast, you can be on the wrong side of this. And being at the wrong side of this means you're gonna be getting the haircut. I cannot afford the haircut with what hair I have. I'm invested in Bitcoin. That's the anchor of all cryptocurrency. That's the standard. So that's the gold standard. That's the digital gold. But it doesn't have too much of the use cases, unlike the other altcoins.